ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Working in the Industry. My name's Jack Rust. Sat beside my co-host, please introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Beth Haynes. We've got a great show lined up for you, and our amazing studio audience are watching live on HCR on air.
A great lineup of guests are eager to answer your questions. Let's introduce them. First of all, to my left, we have Chris Carter, editor of the Romford Recorder. Chris, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, sure, Jack. I've been editor of the Romford Recorder a couple of years now, but I'm also editor of the Ilford Recorder.
Mm-hmm.
I've been editor of that for 20 years and been in the job for 30 years, but I'm still passionate about the job.
It's a good job.
Delighted to be here today.
Thank you.
Next up we have Anila Dani, journalist and current host of HCTV. Anila, would you like to do the same as Chris?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm a TV presenter for a channel called HCTV, and it's the largest South Asian network in the world. And I present a daily live chat show, Monday to Friday, and I'm also assistant producer on the show and the first reporter on the show as well.
Is it how is it working there? Because compared to you've worked for BBC, LBC, ITV, how does it sort of stack up against them?
So when I was in kind of at London Live, LBC, BBC, I was working behind the scenes a lot more than I'm doing now. So now it's very much in front of the camera, but it's just as crazy and just as busy.
Thank you. So here is how today is going to work. Our audience will pose questions to you in order to gain more of an insight into what it's like to work in the media industry.
Before we pass over to the audience, Jack and I have some questions for you guys. I'd like to kickstart this question for you, Anila. What's it like working for HCTV in comparison to... Oh, Jack's already asked that one. Okay, so we'll jump straight over to you, Jack, for Chris.
Yeah. What is it... so you said that you have worked for the Ilford Recorder for 20 years. Between the two papers, is there a difference in what you put across? And I guess to say that people's opinions aren't put across too strongly, do you have to worry about that?
Yeah, no, they're different areas, very different areas, Redbridge and Havering. But principally, the job of reporting in those areas is exactly the same. We feel that people want to know the same things in both areas. People want to know about health, education, the council, what's going on in their area. So there isn't really that much difference, and it's just pure local journalism in both areas.
Was it a difficult thing to sort of get involved with the papers, sort of in the beginning for you?
At the start, it wasn't for me. I mean, I sort of got into it in a bit of a roundabout way. Actually, I was a banker for a while, believe it or not for long, I have to say, before anyone challenged me on that. No, when I left school, I sort of went into a bank, but I really wanted to be a journalist, and I got a job as a junior sports reporter on a local paper in Harlow, and that's where I started.
Thank you. So right now, Beth and I would like to pass it over to the studio audience to pose any questions that they might have for our two guests. So. Does anyone want to ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
For Chris, whereabouts in your life did you actually decide that journalism was the path that you wanted to follow?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Where am I?
Like, what time in your life did you realise that journalism was like the path you wanted to follow, and what made you realise that?
Okay. Yeah, no, I always wanted to be a journalist as a kid, actually. But when at school, unfortunately, my careers advised me against journalism for some reason. I don't know, but I think it was mainly because our school that I went to sort of pushing people straight into university, and also insurance and banking, and so they kind of took me away from it. But I was always keen to be a journalist, and after my little sort of period in banking, I was always sort of drawn back to it. So I've always been. I think the reason was I've always been passionate about English and writing, and I think that sort of directed me in that direction.
Would you encourage people to go down different paths and try different careers before finding, where they're supposed to be?
I think it's good to get life experience. I do think at sort of late teens and even early 20s, a lot of people don't know what they want to do, and there's a lot of pressure on you guys to, what do you want to do? You need to know what you want to do now. But I think if you can, it is quite good to try different things. But it is very difficult in today's world to do that. But I do think it's important to try different things if you can, and keep your options open, really.
Picking up on what you said about your love for English, what would you say? So, where we're in college right now, we're working towards a certain set of qualifications. To get involved in in your career, I guess. What would you say would be like a great set of qualifications to have?
Definitely English. Obviously English. That's the principal thing. Anything else around it is fine, but English is the key thing for me. And anything else sort of sociable, I'm sure Neela would sort of agree. That if there's anything that shows that you are active in, even if it's when it comes to sports, if you're captain of a football team or something like that, I think it shows. Yeah. It shows that you're, up and willing to get involved in things.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one question. It's for both of you. Is university key to in the jobs that you're doing now?
So I studied English at university, and then I did my master's in philosophy and literature, purely because I loved studying. But I mean, like Chris said, English is really important because it gives you kind of the writing skills if you want to go into writing for newspapers, online. There's so much, media is so online based now that you kind of have to be able to write something along with if you want to create a video, just because people consume media in so many different ways now. So I don't know if any of you read BuzzFeed or Huffington Post, those kinds of things. You'll always see that there's a really catchy sentence along with a video, or GIF, is that what it's called?
GIF, yeah.
So you've got to be able to write catchy things. I think English for that reason is really good. But at the same time, as while I was studying, I did so much work experience. So from about the age of 15, I was kind of in radio, magazines, newspapers. I did a week at Romford Recorder as well. And yeah, I just got work experience literally everywhere. So my CV was just pages and pages long. So by the time I came out of university, I was like, look, I've been doing work experience for so many years now, even though I've not been working in the industry, that I just kind of need to get into a job. So it's about having the balance, I think. If you enjoy studying, make sure you're getting work experience in your free time, because it really shows employers that you're really passionate, because you're going out in your spare time to do things. Just as an example, I contacted someone from the BBC recently, and it didn't matter that I'm a TV presenter for this big channel. He actually said to me, the most impressive thing I've done is create a video for my YouTube channel that I did kind of ages ago on my phone. And he was like, that shows me that you're passionate about journalism. So it's just about getting those extra spare time, doing things in your spare time, those kinds of skills. And obviously if you're not really into education, which is fine as well, just start getting work experience at different places, contact everyone and grab every opportunity, because it's only going to benefit you.
What would you guys say for, because obviously we're in the creative industry, and both you guys work in quite creative areas. What would you say for people whose parents are kind of more traditional and don't necessarily want them to go into the creative side? How would, what's your advice for them to kind of get out there and prove, that it is a good and good industry to work in?
I don't know, because my parents have always been really supportive, but I think if you're really passionate about something, you've just got to kind of show your parents that you're really determined to go out and make it happen. Mm-hmm. And I think there was definitely a point where after I graduated, I wasn't getting a job, And my parents just thought I was bumming around at home doing nothing. And I was like, no, like I am applying for jobs every day and I'm getting rejections all the time. And they kind of start saying, look, maybe journalism isn't really going to happen. You know, maybe becoming a TV presenter is a bit far-fetched. And it's just about keep going and not giving up, and eventually you'll get there.
I mean, I think there's no question that the professions like, you know, medical profession or being a lawyer has got a little bit more kudos than actually being a journalist. And I think journalists are quite low down when it comes to the popularity stakes, obviously with things like that have been going on with the tabloids. But I think, as Aline said, it's really important to be passionate about and to sort of pursue it despite everything. But I think it is a difficult thing, and I think journalism, to be honest with you, you know, you're not going to be a millionaire being a journalist. You're not going to earn as much. Yeah, you're not going to earn as much as you would if you're a doctor or a lawyer. But if you're really passionate about it, it is a job where there's something generally different every day. Yeah. You are mixing with people all the time. You are, you know, if you're really keen on if you think you're a people person, for example, it's a great job to be in. But you have to be passionate about it and not worry about the money.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the same with, like for me, for example, I'd love to be, like my ultimate goal is to be a screenplay writer. But I know that it's not the most, like the easiest business to break into. But I think I'd definitely put doing what you love over just doing something to earn money. I'd rather, you know, I guess it's like a case of work to live over live to work.
And I think ultimately, if you are good at what you do, then the rewards will be there. You know, obviously, you start right at the bottom, and it is quite difficult as a trainee journalist, or you know, whether you're a trainee in broadcasting or in newspapers. It is quite difficult at the bottom, but you know, if you're very good, if you're very passionate about it, you can sort of, you know, rise up through the ranks, and I think the rewards would be there.
You've just got to keep pushing.
Absolutely.
I've actually got a question for Anila. Me and Beth have been, you know, live on air before. This is live. We've been on the radio, but to a relatively small audience. What's it like for you? You know, you're on ZTV. Just, you know, you're presenting to such a wide-ranging audience. How does that feel? Is it you know, nerve-wracking? Is it enjoyable?
Well, when I first started, I definitely wasn't any good at it, because obviously going into a new job, and I hadn't been in front of a camera at all before, it's something really new, and you do have to keep working and working and working at it to get to a place where you're just really natural in front of the camera. But I think the main thing for me is always the message that I want to get across to people. So every time I'm about to start a show, if I do get slightly nervous, I just think to myself, what is it that I want people to go away with at the end of this show? And the message is always bigger than me being a presenter. So I stay very grounded in that sense, that I put it into perspective that, okay, yeah, it might be going out to millions of people, but at the end of the day, they're not watching to watch me, they're watching to get information from my show.
Yeah.
Because you focus a lot on helping people and women as well, don't you?
Yes, yeah. So I do a lot of writing on women as well for my own blog, and on women's issues that women face. And I try to always bring that into my shows as well. But my show is predominantly giving information to help people as well. So I've tried to incorporate my own kind of values of trying to help people, and then use media to do that.
Sounds good. Does anyone else from the audience have more questions? We'll go to you.
My question's aimed at Anila. What tips would you give to a budding presenter?
I think it's really important. Good question. I think it's really important to remember your message and what it is you want to get across. If you want to be like entertaining someone, just remember that you know, it's an entertainment show, that's what you want to get across, and it's the entertainment value. For me, it's about helping people and using my position as a journalist to get really like key information out there to people. So I keep that in mind. And also just to remember that when you're interviewing somebody, you are interested in them, and other people want to get information that they haven't read anywhere else. So like, you can Wikipedia a million people, but what is it that you're going to get that no one else has got? That's the key thing.
Did we have, another question?
Right, this is a question for both of you. Breaking into the journalism sector, do you think it's best to have like loads of different experience, or best to have just a big long span of, say, like knowledge or university studies?
I think experience is, you can't beat experience, and experience in every, in every field really. Because I think there's two good reasons for that. One is obviously, as we said, when an employer sees that you've got a whole load of work experience, they can see that you are really keen to get into the industry, you're keen to try anything. And the other thing, if you do get work experience in different fields, you try everything, then you might get to know a bit more which direction you want to go. It is important, you need the basic qualifications to be a journalist. So you do need an English A-level. But if you get work experience, that's absolutely key. And also the other thing about it is there's a high proportion of our work experience students who've gone on to get jobs with us. So obviously they come on work experience. We feel we know them, we like them, we know what they're capable of. And when a vacancy comes up, they are probably first in the queue. So it is really important to get work experience.
I'll just reiterate that. And also, work experience is good because you make connections. So if you really impress somebody, like Chris said, and you stay in touch with them, and you keep saying or sending them articles, just be like, I've written this for my blog, or I produce this, you can go on YouTube and watch it. Even if they don't reply, if you keep sending them something, chances are they'll end up reading one of your articles or watching one of your videos, and they'll remember you. Because I have done this where I've emailed somebody a good 5 or 6 times to the point where they've just had to respond to me because I won't leave them alone. So it's good for networking purposes as well and making contacts.
I think that's important as well, is to, say for example, you want to be a sports journalist, and go out and watch a football match, go out and attend any sporting event and write something about it, and then send it to newspapers or wherever. Go and get your hands dirty, go and do what you want to do. Do a review of music, or maybe do a YouTube clip, and show the employers that you are really keen to get into this industry.
I think that's really good advice.
So it's just like keep on like what you said with you emailed people so many times until they gave
Just keep bugging them.
Yeah,
Basically, yeah.
I mean, I've had people like that. I've had work experience people who've just emailed me non-stop, and in the end it's like, okay, I give up. You've got the job.
Was Anila one of them?
I think she had other ideas in broadcast journalism, but yeah, I mean, it really pays to be not pest, but to be persistent. Yeah, definitely persistent is the word. Persistent, and also enthusiastic, and take every opportunity you can. If you do work experience, volunteer for everything. Our work experience students that come to the recorder, we say that if you're keen to do something, we'll let you do it. Obviously, we need to be able to know that we can trust you to do that. You'll probably shadow a journalist, but if you show that you can do things, we'll let you do them, and you'll get, if you do like a page lead, for example, you'll get a byline in the newspaper, which for your portfolio and for your CV is absolutely priceless. If you get a byline in the newspaper or a slot on a TV show or whatever, then it's really, really good for you. So, I can't emphasise it more. Just, Just go out and get some experience and pester people.
And also, on that note as well, Chris was saying, if you do work experience, you've basically got a really short amount of time to make yourself be known. And there was a time when I was interning at London Live. I think I was there for probably about a week. And they really needed somebody to go out and get this audio of, don't know, police commissioner was doing a speech. It was like a really boring task about 6 o'clock in the morning. And so they gave it to me, but it was really vital to get key notes over to London Live for their news programme. So it's just about making yourself known. And eventually, because I'd sent such good notes over, they did include it in their news programme, and then I went on to freelancing for them, and I was a field producer for them in the end. So it's just about making yourself known, really putting yourself out there. Like, I took a lot of risks while I was there interning that week. One of the producers said to me, "Oh, look, you know, I really need to get this on air in 5 minutes. We're going live. Can you cut this video up for me and edit it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I sat at the computer and I was like, "Oh my God, I've got to edit this clip and get it out on air in 5 minutes, and I've never used this before." Bish bash bosh, did it. I don't know how I did it, but I did. And it's just those kind of things. You've got to take a few risks sometimes. Stick your neck on the line. Hope it pays off.
So, you know, you went from London Live, and I'm pretty sure I saw an interview that you did with Jon Snow. So to go
Kit Harington.
to go from, you know, like, London Live is a relatively small, I guess, step is what I'm looking for. To go from that to interviewing, you know, a veteran broadcaster in Jon Snow, how does that feel?
I actually interviewed Jon Snow while I was at Queen Mary University. He came in, he was friends with my lecturer, and I heard he was coming in. So I sent emails constantly to my lecturer saying, please, 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 let me get an interview with him for my YouTube. She was just like, okay, yeah, you know, I'll find out. So she managed to ask him if I could interview him, and he was just like, yeah, it's fine. And then got his number and set an interview up with him. And that was actually one of the first interviews I ever did for my YouTube channel. So that was before I got to London Live.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realise that.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine.
But yeah, I mean, I guess, did you learn anything from him being, like, with him being in the business for so long? Did you gain any sort of valuable experience from working with him?
His interview was really insightful, actually. He's done amazing work on reporting. He's been out to different countries, and he's full of so much knowledge. That's definitely one thing I learned from him, but just reading and going out and actually seeing things in real life is so valuable.
Have you guys managed to travel a lot, like with journalism? Have you managed to get out there? I mean, obviously we've got the local reporters here, but is there anywhere you've gone to and thought, wow, you know?
Went to Birmingham last week. No, as a local journalist, we don't tend to get. I mean, we have had reporters that have gone out to Auschwitz, to you know, obviously to the camps there with some of the schools. We've also had, we did an appeal a long time ago, before you guys were probably born, for it was for an orphanage in Romania. We did an appeal for that. One of our reporters went out to deliver aid with a big truck out to Romania. We've also raised money for schools in Bosnia, I think it was, and I think one of the reporters went out there as well. So there is an opportunity for reporters to travel on a local newspaper. Obviously not as much as if you were a foreign correspondent, but we're really keen for people to get out and about, and if they can go abroad, then that's even better. I'm sure you have.
I haven't actually. I try to. It's something that I've introduced in my shows, where I go out and interview people rather than being in the studio, but it is mainly studio based. And even when I was kind of reporting and helping as a researcher, it was basically local places. Yeah.
Does anybody in the audience have a question?
Yeah, we've got one.
I think for me, we did a story a good few years ago about, it's an unfortunate story about a young girl who died of a blood clot, and the GP had missed it, and so basically we ran lots and lots of stories, and in the end, I won't go into the detail of it, but in the end we managed to change the law on GPs and how long, when they're struck off, how long they can come back and reapply, and we actually sorry?
Sorry, no, go on.
Yeah, and we actually had, we were mentioned in the House of Commons because our MP raised the issue and raised it as a private member's bill. So that was a really good story for us because we pursued it, and I know the dad of the young girl who unfortunately died was really grateful to us. And I think if I want to pass any message on about local newspapers, if I may, is that I think we can be a force for good, local newspapers, as opposed to some of the bad publicity that newspapers do get. And it's those kind of stories that I really like doing. And I mean, just recently we've been raising money for one of the local charities, First Step. We've raised 50,000 this year. And these kind of things give me a big buzz. To be honest with you, some of the other stories, if there's a stabbing here, a stabbing there, you know, I think that there's too much of that. And I think it's really good to have some good news, not even necessarily good news, but some positive stuff where it shows that the community is doing something good, and hopefully we can be a force for good for the community as well.
I don't really cover stories as a presenter. I cover topics, but I can tell you probably the most interesting thing I've done was on homelessness, and it was actually with the local YMCA in Montfort. I did the Sleep Easy Challenge, so I slept on the streets for one night and raised money for charity, and then I did a whole show on homelessness just to raise awareness for people to understand why others become homeless. And then I invited somebody who was actually homeless onto the show to talk about his experiences. I think that's probably the most interesting thing I've done because it's kind of bringing awareness on a big platform.
And I think that's important. In the media can make a difference, as I said, in local newspapers, but you as a journalist can make a difference, even in the local field. And it's really interesting. Sometimes I get my young trainee journalists, they come to me and they say, I was in the street the other day and someone stopped me and said, oh, you're such and such, you're Hayley Anderson. I saw your story, that was great, you know. And she was really shocked. She was really shocked and didn't think that what she was doing made a difference. But it does make a difference. You know, whether it's local, whether it's national, international, whatever, journalism does make a difference. And don't just buy this thing about hacking and all the bad things that the tabloids do, because there are actually some really good things that the tabloids do. They do expose a lot of things. And if you go into the industry, you can be part of that and you can actually make a difference.
So you said about the hacking scandals and all that. With with local newspapers, do you find it's harder to cover the stories if you're a local newspaper as opposed to big huge tabloids?
So what you're saying, Jack, is we haven't got a big checkbook. Is that what you're saying? Usually no. Usually because we're in the community all the time, people trust us and they will talk to us and they're used to talking to us. And so generally we don't find it hard, and it's easier for us to get stories and to talk to people than the nationals. Nationals would tend to come in, there's a big story, they'll come in, they might flash their checkbooks around, and sometimes people do take that, they do so, and very, very occasionally we try and get a story and someone will say, oh no, we've got a contract with the Daily Mail or whatever, in which case we can't do anything. But that's very rare, and actually the nationals do rely on us to get a lot of their stories.
Because you're more connected with
absolutely. If you read the newspapers, the national newspapers today, a lot of those stories have come from regional newspapers. They sell their stories onto the nationals, or it will come from PA Wire or things like that.
Okay, brilliant. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on our show today, and I think the audience have really, appreciated all of your advice and the insights you've given us to your industries.
It's you know, as Beth said, it's been an absolute pleasure to, you know, host with you, interview you. I've just got, you know, a question, since both me and Beth are amazing presenters. This is mostly aimed at Anila. Do we get jobs?
You've done really well, yeah.
So that's that. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to those of you watching at home, and thank you to our studio audience. I'm Jack.
I'm Beth.
Thank you and goodbye.
Cheers, well done.